Friend, let me tell you something. September might just be the most overlooked month for entrepreneurs. Everyone talks about January for resolutions and June for mid-year reviews, but September is where the magic happens. Not only is it my birthday month, but it's a month that can carry you into the end of the year inspired or have you crawling into December, burnout, and wondering where the time went. Here's the truth. While I, as a Virgo baby, have always looked forward to September because I love the bird months. I love the change of the seasons from summer into fall. Fall is my favorite season. I am a person who looks forward to September, but I've come to learn that a lot of people don't. A lot of people dread September because summer is ending, the fun is winding down. And when people look at their business goals, they often feel left behind because at this point, we're 9 months in and you have not completed half of the things that were on your New Year's resolution. And if you didn't do a mid year check in, you're not really sure how you're going to pull this off by the end of the year, right? September has its own energy. The air feels different, routines reset, and suddenly the world is giving us this collective push forward. And when I started aligning with that, when other entrepreneurs start to align with that, it is a complete and total game changer. So think about it. Our whole lives, September has meant back to school. Now, if you're in the South, that has bumped up a little bit, right? To the end of July or August is back to school time, right? So new notebooks, new teachers, new beginnings. But that energy doesn't disappear it's still inside of us. And if you're a parent, then you're also resetting from the summer, right? And you're still trying to find your groove and to get back into the way things should be or the way things are going to work for the remainder of the year. Entrepreneurs can use this to reset, recommit, and say, this is my fresh start. And if you think fresh starts are only for January, wait until you hear how September actually gives you a better edge. Nature is shifting too. This is the piece that we need to understand. A couple of years ago, maybe about 5 years ago, as a matter of fact, it was 5 years ago this week, right? 5 years ago, when I turned 40 in the middle of the pandemic, my entire life shifted. Everything about my life changed in September of 2020. And one of the things that I realized was I needed to become one with self. I needed a homecoming. I needed to come home to myself. It had been such a long time since I knew who I was, and a two very large, three very large life events happened in August of 2020 that forced me into a new identity in September of 2020. And on my 40th birthday, I remember waking up and saying, I don't give a fuck. That was the energy that I had on my 40th birthday. And now looking back on that 5 years later, here's one of the things that helped me uh, shift into the being that I am now. Number one, I paid attention to the seasons start. As nature is shifting, the long summer days are fading and fall is coming. This transition is sparking reflection, and reflection sparks creativity. This is the perfect time to harvest ideas, fine tune your offers, or breathe new life into a project that you've been putting off. And speaking of harvesting, September is also the perfect checkpoint for your goals that you planted back in January. So let's talk about revisiting the year's intentions that you set at the top of the year. Number one, if you have had major life events causing you to be a completely different version of who you were at the top of the year when you made those goals, I need you to acknowledge it, I need you to honor it, and I need you to move accordingly. So, for example, if you have experienced a major loss in your life, the death of a parent, the death of a friend, the death of a spouse, something like heavy, heavy hitting where like you living in this world without this person quite literally changes who you are as a person. I need you to stop trying to get back to who you were before the loss happened. You will never be that person. You will literally never be that person again. And I don't think enough of us understand that. When you experience a loss that is so great that, like, one day you and this person are breathing on the same earth, and the next day they're no longer here. that changes you. And it's going to be very, very difficult. And I don't even think you should attempt to try and go back to the way things were. We've now got to create a new reality. Right. So keep that in mind as we're moving forward. Right. So that's the first disclaimer I want to give as I run through this list of things. If you have lost something or someone that has changed who you are, you might need to reevaluate what your goals are. So here's the math in all of this. September is 3/4 of the way through the year. You still have a quarter left, right? It's not over. The final quarter. I'm not into football, but I understand that like a team can come back and win the game in the last quarter, right? Don't count me out until the game is over. So you have enough time to finish and to finish strong. This is what I want you to ask yourself right now. What's aligned? What's expired? And where do I need to adjust? I'm going to say that one more time. What's aligned? What's expired? And where do I need to adjust? Ask yourself those three questions seriously and write it out and then move accordingly. One of the things that I thought about was the goals that I had for myself, me personally, at the beginning of the year. This is probably one of the first years that what the goals were at the top of the year, I've completed most of them. I've completed a whole lot of them. And in the completion of those goals, I realized that I didn't set a big enough dream because I've completed so many of them. And so to finish out the year, my focus has shifted a bit, right? At the top of the year, it was building out a multi-million-dollar coaching practice. And I've completed the coursework, right? I've got another certification in coaching. I do coach millionaires. I coach people from six figures to, eight figures. That part I've got in the bag. I can coach people in my sleep. But then I realized that that wasn't my life's purpose. I realized that coaching people because I can do it in my sleep and because I am so good at it, it's another skill that I've mastered, but it's not my purpose. And so as I sat with that, probably in June during my mid-year review of self and the things that I've accomplished, I was like, okay, so you've mastered this, but do you feel fulfilled? And the answer to that question was no. And so in June, July, and August, I began really, really honing in on what is my purpose? What am I here to do on this earth? What is my legacy? And so what I knew that was is that I needed to tap back into a pre-pandemic version of myself. Now, hear me out and walk with me as I take y'all through this. So, if you are a longtime listener, you know my story. But if you don't know my story, I want to give it to you. Friday, March 13th of 2020, I went to the Small Business Administration here in Atlanta, and I had been working with them for months on a business plan and scouting out locations for opening up a bakery. I had it all planned out. I had all my ducks in a row. I met with the loan officer that morning, and my business plan was approved. It was approved to move forward to open the Cookie Emporium in Metro Atlanta. We had worked for months on this. This had been ongoing for about 9 months at this point. The vision changed a little bit within those 9 months from me having a school to me opening a bakery with the school. And we had everything outlined. It was perfect. It was ready to go. I, spoken with loan officers. We'd done all the things we were supposed to do, and it was approved on Friday the 13th of 2020. Saturday, March 14th of 2020, we went into quarantine for what was only supposed to be 2 weeks. That turned into a global pandemic. And so the Cookie Emporium never happened because at that point, the banks clearly weren't giving out money and they were making sure that the people who already had loans weren't defaulting on their loans, right? And so as things progressed throughout the pandemic, life happened. I lost strength in my hands in November of 2020. I spent the first 6 months of 2021 in physical therapy, trying to regain the strength back in my hands, only regained 30%. And I had to learn how to write my name again, had to learn how to dress myself again. And so that exponentially changed the goals, the visions, the dreams. Since 2021, I have learned food photography, mastered it. I have gone to school for a second master's degree in coaching and training and development, mastered it. Got another certification in coaching, um, and business mindset, mastered it. Literally got an award for it. But I did all of these things since 2021, started a blog, sold a blog. Like so many things have happened, published 4 books since 2021. All of these things came together as a result of the original goal, the original purpose building dream of opening the cookie emporium. And so when that didn't happen, life happened, right? And now I've reached a point where I've mastered all of these things, none of which are my passion. Well, I won't say that. I am passionate about all of those things, but none of them are my purpose. I know that my purpose is me engaging kids in the kitchen. Always has been. And now I find myself back there. Now that I have released my 4th book, which is Teach Me How to Bake Volume 2, very specifically for children ages 8 through 12. It's a homeschool curriculum. It's an almost 200-page baking curriculum for children. Now that it released on 7/7 of this year. It is now September. It's only been 2 months. I have sold more copies of that book than any other book I have ever written, which I thought was really interesting. They sold like hotcakes. I mean, just flying. People ordering them in bulk. It is international, right? Like I can see where bookstores are purchasing it. It's in a library. This book has exponentially changed my view of life and my view of when you are aligned, how the universe just shows up for you, right? And I was like, huh. So I made a post about the book again, like, hey, this would be a great Christmas gift for kids. Go ahead and get that now. And multiple parents were DMing me asking, when were the classes? Prior to the pandemic, I spent all of my time in the kitchen with children when I wasn't in the kitchen doing orders for the bakery. And I realized that we have kind of come full circle, right? Where we're at a point post pandemic where people would be looking for putting their kids in baking classes very specifically. It was a need in 2019, which is why 2020, I was working on preparing to open up a school that was very, very focused on children in the kitchen, baking, not cooking, but baking. And that is going to be my ultimate goal for 2026 is that while it won't be the cookie emporium, she's upgraded a little bit. And the same vision, the same opportunities will come to fruition through Teach Me How to Bake. All right. September for me is my new year. My birthday is September 14th. I do not make New Year's resolutions in January. I do set big goals for myself in January, but I don't make New Year's resolutions because my new year is when I turn a year older. And so every September, I go through the process that a lot of people go through in January. I set resolutions for myself. And this year, as I turn 45, I've decided to set promises for myself. And the reason I'm setting promises for myself is because I have reached a point of understanding that the one person on the face of this earth you should not break a promise to is to yourself. And I'm very aware that opening a school for children to learn how to bake will change the game for a whole lot of people. And so as I was writing things out a couple of days ago, right? Like I spent the first 14 days of September just kind of imagining what the next year of my life will look like. That's what we came up with. We, I mean me, myself, and I. That's what I came up with was that it is time for us to tap back into what we were going to do before the pandemic happened. All of the skills that I've learned since the pandemic have helped me get to this point to be able to create the book that I created that has had incredible success, right? And so I was like, well, here we are. And even when I look at, so how are we going to do this? What is the rollout? Here's the rollout. Here's what this kind of looks like, right? The end of the year, um, my Q4 will be focused on helping entrepreneurs prepare for 2026. The coaching program that I just finished has armed me with so much information on business. Not, I already knew the coaching aspect, but like things about business, things about financial management, things about um, CEO mindset, etc. I'm going to help 20 entrepreneurs in Q4 prepare for the biggest year they've ever had in 2026. Like, we're all going to show up in a way we've never shown up before in order to get results we've never had before. And if you are interested in learning more about that, just make sure you check the show notes. I'm linking to that there, or you can just go to kimberlyihouston.com/mastermind. And there you can apply to be a part of our Q4 cohort. It is a 90-day sprint. And when I say it is a sprint, baby, we running. Okay. We are running. This is not for people who are playing. This is an opportunity for people to show up in a way they've literally never shown up for themselves before, because that's what's going to be required of you. And so the investment is the investment, and that investment, you will absolutely get your return on it if you just do what is told. And so that's how I'm going to end the year, right? So that's 3 months, 90 days of doing that. And then the first 90 days of 2026, we'll be working on new products for Teach Me How to Bake, joining a cohort to create baking mixes, and more than likely bringing back subscription boxes by Q2 is the plan, right? And so I'm thinking about all of those things. I'm thinking about the fact that making the decision, making the promise to myself to show up in a way that I know I can show up and to show up in a way that I need to show up will fundamentally change everything in my life and in my business. Um, and will also affect other entrepreneurs in the baking industry, as well as other creative entrepreneurs who are coaching with me, right? So that's what that looks like. That is what planning and dreaming looks like in the energy of September. That is what it looks like and feels like when you allow yourself to work in full and total alignment. That is what it looks like when you make a decision and you stand flat footed in that decision and the universe begins to respond. Nothing about what I just said to you sounds scary to me. Nothing about what I just said to you sounds difficult. None of it. It all feels very, very aligned with the path that I am taking in my life. And that could be the case for many other entrepreneurs, right? The problem is that when you are out of alignment and you second guess the the feeling, the unction, the gut feeling that you're supposed to be doing something else, that's where we mess up, right? Like, your intuition is not going to fail you. And so you have to get to the point where you make a decision to not break a promise to yourself to take your business to the next level, right? Um, Reflection is great. Thinking about the things that you have done, wanted to do, could do, those things are great, but it won't carry you without structure. And that's why September is your opportunity to realign yourself, get some systems set up in your business, and move forward in a way that will allow you to have success in a sustainable way. Right. So let's talk about what structuring for sustainability looks like. With the return of various routines back in your life, kids in school, people back at work after vacations, your calendar is looking a little more predictable, when the kids have after school programs, etc. You can now put business systems and habits in place that you probably couldn't over the summer. This is not your opportunity to start grinding harder. Please don't do that. But you can create routines that will protect your creativity and your energy and allow you to sleep. So, for example, to make this real easy, you can plan batch days, right? So if I'm doing podcast recordings, I'm recording 4 in a day. And then I'm going to schedule them. So now all my podcasts for the month are done. And did I fall off doing that this summer? Yes, because I was traveling, and that's not really an excuse, but that's what happened. But are we back into it because now it's September? Absolutely, right? So now we're back on our schedule of 4 every single time that I'm recording. You can schedule in CEO time. On Mondays, I don't talk to clients. Mondays are CEO days. Those are days for me. Whether that means it's a day I'm not getting out my bed because a CEO needs to rest, cool. If it is a day that I spend working on websites or working on new products or coming up with new creative ideas, That's what I do on Mondays, right? With no outside interference. Or implement systems that lighten your mental load. What are you doing on everyday basis that you can automate? If you are sending out emails, but you're not using the email system, but you like just using Gmail and you emailing people, why? Why don't you have a newsletter? Why aren't we sending out bulk emails, right? Like, what are ways that you can be implementing some automations in your business that don't require you to show up all the time? So those are the things we want to think about as we are growing successful, sustainable businesses. Now, here's what I want you to think about. What does September feel like in your city? Events are kicking back up. I want y'all to like go on Eventbrite and look at the number of events that happen in the fall and in the winter. Like there's quite a few of them actually. Working opportunities are popping up. Nations gear up for the final push of the year. There are a lot of networking pop-ups for people who are looking for jobs. We are currently in like the worst unemployment since pre-pandemic, right? Like just not even including the pandemic, like our unemployment rate right now is so ridiculously high. And do I think a lot of people will move into entrepreneurship? I do. Do I think a lot of people will sustain it? I don't. I don't. And I know that, people are up in arms right now with Tabitha Brown because she said if you're an entrepreneur, you might need to get a job until it works out. I don't disagree with that. I have a job. I have a job in addition to running my business, right? And the way that that works for me is that my job just feels like a part of me. It doesn't interfere with my life. I know that I'm very, very lucky to be able to work remotely. And so I put my time in at work and it does not interfere with my life, but that's a steady paycheck that's coming in, which is super helpful. It is very helpful. In the 13 years that I've been an entrepreneur, this is the first time. No, this is the first time since the pandemic, but it's probably the second or third time that I've had a job while also being an entrepreneur. And this time has required the least amount of work for me. It has been the most beneficial. And I think paid me the most. So if you need to get a job, babe, it's okay. Like it's totally okay. No one says anything to me about me having a job and being an entrepreneur. Actually, people think it's kind of cool, right? So if that's something that you need to do, great. Just do something that aligns with your goals. Like my job at the Retail Bakers Association of America makes sense for me. It aligns with who I am as a person. It aligns with my business and career goals, right? So if that's something you have to do, then do that. All right, we're off that soapbox. It's time for you to start reconnecting, right? Reconnect to self, reconnect to other people, build some community. Do not sit on the sidelines. It's time for you to collaborate, to network, and put yourself in spaces where inspiration flows both ways. Last week, I sent out an email to a list of 5,000 people and said, hey, I'm going to be co working for 4 days over the next 2 weeks. Here's the link for you to come and join me. You know how many people showed up? Two people. It's me and two other people showing up for co working. And you know what? We did it for 4 days and it was incredible. And here's the thing, those who show up for themselves see results, period. Like there's no other way to put that. Like I put the charge out there and the people who needed to do the thing showed up in the way they needed to show up for themselves and for their business. And I expect for there to be blessings that flow from that, right? If you couldn't make my co-working, no big deal. But you can still build some co-working sessions in with your own group of entrepreneurs who are around you, who are near you. And if you're not around other entrepreneurs, you're not around other people who understand what is happening in the entrepreneur world, I'm going to encourage you to get around some. Okay, so here's why all of this matters. Your energy doesn't just come from strategy, it also comes from community. That is quite literally one small shift that can make big impact before this year is over. So let's recap this episode, right? September is not just another month. It's a reset button. It's a creativity spark. It is a chance to revisit your goals, structure your sustainability, and reconnect with self as well as community. If you choose to lean into this energy, you'll finish this year not just strong, but inspired. And if you don't want to do this alone, that is exactly why the Six Figure Creator Mastermind exists. And if you want to join us, again, it is in the show notes, or you can go to KimberlyIHouston.com/mastermind. This mastermind is for entrepreneurs who are tired of spinning their wheels. It is for people who are ready to stop white knuckling their business and start building from alignment and ease. I don't believe you have to work hard to make a lot of money. I just don't believe that because it's not true. It's not real. It's a mistaken belief we were given and we internalized it and we started believing that it was a real thing. And it's not. There are too many people who just invest $10 in the stock market and now they're billionaires, right? Like it's just not how this works, y'all. Like anyway, we use frameworks that allow us to build from alignment and with ease to make sure your energy is fueling your income, not draining it. September is your chance to choose momentum over burnout. Use the energy of the season. Use the energy of transition. Use the energy of transformation. But let's do it together. Until next time, friends, stay sweet.